disregard. There. And hey, good job remembering to record the meeting.
Yep, I almost forgot.
Okay, let's get started here. We've got hopefully about 40 minutes, 45 minutes of content. I want to certainly hopefully leave the floor open for any questions. Again, if we don't get to your questions, I'll be around for most of the day. I've got to catch a flight about 4 o'clock, but I'll be around, and certainly you can certainly get in touch with me via some communication pieces here coming up momentarily. Okay. There we go. There's our first glitch. Probably because I'm sharing my screen, I probably can't use my pointer, so I will just go through using my mouse. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to go over the agenda. Quick introduction. We're going to talk about building out your season for 2023. We're going to certainly have a discussion on a league, PFT, that is a abbreviations for divisions, flights, and teams, versus round division flights and teams. That certainly can be a point of confusion sometimes. We're going to talk about round signups on how we get your ladies into a league. This is going to be a league concept webinar, both now and the next one. And then we're going to kind of work on some tournament build, just making sure everyone's understands and comfortable with how we build out a tournament for a particular round. Quick introduction, Justin Scott, 19-year PGA member. Actually, I can change that to 20 years here in a couple weeks. I'm the account manager for the Northwest region for GHIN software. Covers the 10 Northwestern states in the U.S. And then I also have the 4 Western provincial provinces in Canada. So my region is very big. Certainly not as many golf courses in the Northwest as there are in Florida or California, but certainly it's a very large region. Sport associations, clubs, PGA sections, and the Canadian provincials. Been 3 years since we got together, so I forgot my razor and I forgot my business cards. So if you guys ever need to get in touch with me, that's my email address. Certainly feel free to reach out at any point in time, and we can certainly go over any questions or scenarios that you have with the league. This first one is actually going to be all PowerPoint. I don't know if I'll get too far into the software today, just because we have a lot of content to cover. If you're staying for the second session, I will get into the software a little bit more, but this will certainly expedite the process. And this screen is huge. I remember 3 years ago, we were on this tiny little drop down, I don't know, about the size of a big screen TV, and nobody could see the content. So this is a nice little ad, great little spot over here. Season build out. A few things that we want to take a look at is this is for customer managers. Just by raise of hands, do any ladies know who is a customer manager when they're within their account? Okay, so those of you who are customer managers will have this functionality. Those of you who are league managers, we can either ask your professional staff to make you a customer manager, or you can certainly just have the professional, or you can have the professional do this functionality for you. But I just kind of want to show you what will happen. I would suggest maybe asking that professional staff to make you a customer manager, because you do have access to your master roster, possibly some other admin functionality, and then just assure them that you're not going to get into the men's league or the club championship or the member guest at within that particular account. But then to see, we're going to talk about adding a new season, adding a new category. Actually, I need my pointer. My pointer works. Adding a new category, refreshing the master roster from GHIN, and our cloning feature. So when we want to set a new season, this is just to be able to filter and view all of your events within a particular season. In Colorado, normally it's a calendar year season due to the seasonality, April through October. This is set under your season management and the seasons tab, and then adding categories. We can set different categories so that maybe you have a Thursday women's league, and you have a Tuesday women's league, and you have other events within that particular league. We can always set new seasons under the season management tab, seasons tab. We would add those new seasons so that we can put everything that we built in the 2023 season. And then as we're adding new categories, you can certainly name those categories to just certainly give yourself a nice view in your customer center of what's going on at your facility. We always want to try and refresh your master roster from GHIN. This is going to add newly added players that are part of your GHIN membership into your master roster. You have a membership drive, you have some new ladies who come on board and they are part of your club's GHIN roster. We want to get them in there so if we either do registration or if we pull them in from the master roster, all of that information is contained in their profile. And then we have, unfortunately, GHIN won't give us a cell phone number, but they will give us email and gender, GHIN number, address if it's in there, some other important information. So we'll certainly want to do that on a regular basis so that they are contained in your master roster. And then the cloning feature is a great feature. If you have built out a 20-week season, all of your tournaments are the same from year to year. We can clone that over, and then what happens is this is the view master roster, just refresh master roster from GHIN. You can see this one was refreshed right before. Actually, it's a year ago, whichever account this is in. So yeah, so they would want to do a GHIN. So a year has gone by and they haven't synced their roster. And this might have been one of my test accounts. So this would be a telltale sign that this facility needs to update their master roster to get those new players in there. The cloning feature, obviously with clone event, league, and trip, we're going to clone from a particular league in the past. We'll give it a new name, populate it in the proper category, populate it in the proper season. And then the information that can be brought over is very crucial to what you're going to use for the 2023 season. Maybe you bring over your player roster. Maybe, probably not. You probably won't start with a roster of 0, but you can see, if you build a nice portal, we can bring that over. Any tournaments that have been built out in the past, we'll certainly clone over. And then if you have any divisions like the teams that you've built, I've got my club championship division, I've got my ringer division, my eclectic division, we can clone all of that over. So it saves you a lot of time from having to build out your event from scratch. So that's kind of what we want to try and do in the beginning of the season. Again, those of you ladies who are league managers, this doesn't pertain to you. You'll have your professional staff do that, or try and request to become a customer manager. League DFT versus round DFT. This is kind of one where this happens a lot. People are like, where do I go? Under your golfers tab, you have a league division selecting teams option. And then under the rounds tab, you have a league division flights and teams option as well, or excuse me, a round division flights and teams option. Well, what do those do? What's the difference between a league DFT and a round DFT? And this will hopefully alleviate some of those questions that you might have to send into the support team, or you kind of get lost and be like, well, that didn't work. Why is this not working properly? So a quick breakdown of what divisions, flights, and teams are. A division is a separate group for scoring, meaning you may have, I kind of break it down for a club championship. You may have a regular division. You may have a senior division. You may have a super senior division. This breaks these ladies down into a particular bucket so that they can be scored within that group of particular ladies within that division. You can have one or more divisions per event or league, and a player can be in multiple divisions, meaning that if you're going to allow well, it kind of depends on the tees that are going to be playing, but if you're playing the same tees and you want a super senior to play in the regular division, she certainly could. So she could certainly finish in the regular division in a finished position. She could also finish in the super senior division in a particular finished position. This kind of works as well for a skins competition or a deuce pot, or maybe you do have to pay to get into the ringer division. This just kind of breaks those ladies down into those particular divisions so they can be scored separately. A flight is another way to separate scoring groups within a division. So if you have your club championship and you have the regular division and you want to fight that via playing handicap or handicap index, you want to manually break down those flights, you can certainly do so. A player can only be in one flight within a division. This is kind of that concept. Okay, I can be in multiple divisions, but within that division, I can only be in the first, second, third, or X flight. Teams, we're going to get into teams a little bit deeper in the next session if you are sticking around for that. But teams is a group of players competing against another group of players. Obviously, you know, a 4-person scramble where you have 4 women on a team competing against another 4 women and or groups of women on their particular team. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-player teams. Or, you know, I don't really see it a lot of ladies leagues, but there are some leagues that have a large group of women on a team or men, whatever that may be. And those players count, you know, X number of round scores for a team score. So just kind of a quick breakdown of what divisions, flights, and teams look like and how they are used. And then we're now going to get into the difference between a league and a round DFT. The league, divisions, flights, and teams is used for the encompassment of the entire league. So if you have a ringer division and you have X number of rounds that are going to count towards that ringer score, we would build a ringer division in the leagues tab so that that can be used in your multi-round tournaments for the duration of that particular league season. Same thing with skins, maybe with deuces. This would be something that maybe we're going to count up how many deuces you got over the entire season. We could build out a multi-round tournament, use that deuce division, and then we would count, okay, Margaret got a deuce on, you know, round 1, round 7, round 9, and that would accumulate to a 3 deuces over the course of that multi-round tournament. The rounds division flights and team is used in the context of a single round. Meaning, if you are going to create an optional skins game, or if we are going to flight a round roster, we may need to use, we don't necessarily need to build a division to flight the round roster. But if we conduct round signups, you have 100 ladies in your league, 40 choose to play on that particular day. Under the rounds division flights team, that's where we would flight the 40 ladies who are playing in that particular round. Additionally, if we were building a skins game where you have to commit to purchase into the skins game, we build that under the rounds tab, so it's only used within that specific round. So just kind of, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea as to how we can utilize the rounds DFT. Let me see, since we don't have any more chats, let's see if we can. Figure that out. What is this? Hopefully that makes sense. Everybody kind of, at least with a little bit of a nod of the heads, kind of hopefully understands the difference between that. It confused me when I first started with the company. I'm like, where do I build it? I don't know. It says round DFT, league DFT. Not really quite sure. So hopefully this will give you a little bit better understanding of where and when you build those divisions, flights, and teams. Everybody got your lot of whispering out there. Good, great. Round signups. How many people are using round signups in the room by show of hands? Got 1, 2, okay. So maybe
Go online and sign up.
Yeah.
10%, 15%. Okay, perfect. A great time saver. I know, in speaking with some of the clubs that I've been working with, you have a lot of, obviously, we've got a lot of coordinators. While I'm the tournament chair, I'm the handicap chair, I'm in charge of emailing out my golfers to see who's going to play on a particular day. Hopefully, those of you who are in charge of that, we can eliminate the paper sign up in the back of the golf shop. We can eliminate the phone calls. We can eliminate the back and forth of, hey, I'm playing. Well, actually, no, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm not playing. Oh, my doctor's appointment got canceled. Can I play? And then you have this communication between that particular woman who is in charge of that particular round. And that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to monitor and to keep track of all these changes that may be taking place. I remember when I was working in green grass, people would sign up on the back of the golf shop. And I couldn't even read their name as to who was signing up. And it was mostly men. So like, who's this guy? I can't read his handwriting, or they start scratching stuff out and moving lines around. So we have this feature called round signups, where this can now automate the ability for you to invite a woman to a round, and they can respond to that email and accept or decline or ignore that invitation. And this is where I would normally get into the program, and I'm not going to. But the round sign up feature allows players to sign up week to week for rounds in the league. Players can respond to an invite for a round through an email invitation or through the league portal. Hopefully we're starting to utilize the league portal more because it gives information regarding results, tee times, analytics, player league standings. So if you're not using the portal, I would certainly suggest that you start to, and there are a number of ways that we can get the ladies to use the league portal. If we have time, we can discuss those. If not, it's in the knowledge base, so we can certainly have a discussion after the session. The few things that we want to do with round signups, we want to prep for round sign up. We want to configure an email that will go out to the players, and you have full configuration of this email of what you want to present to them. How do we email invites and then the player sign up process? I'm going to go through that here for just a moment here. So within round signups, under your league profile and your rounds and scheduling, there are just a few things that you want to try and build out and make sure that they are correct before we start the league sign up process. Now, this can be changed on a round by round basis in your round profile, but if we set up this in the league profile, we can enable round signups on the portal. We can also allow members to add guests, maybe. We can also allow members to add other members. And then maybe we want to allow a golfer to send a message to the manager. We can set those parameters, and then we can set a player limit. So if you are a facility where you are welcoming other women to come and play with your leagues, you can certainly set that a member could add another guest. And when that email is sent out, that particular woman could add a guest if need be. We can also have a member add other members. Be like, okay, we play in the same course, and maybe you don't get the ability to play together, but maybe you want to sign up other ladies so that they don't have to take care of that functionality on their own. You can certainly always add other members to your round signups. These are certainly all configurable. And maybe for an individual round for the club championship, I only want certainly to allow one person to sign up for the club championship. But you have a 4-person scramble, well, I'm going to give you the ability to sign up 3 other ladies for that particular 4-person scramble. And then that again is changed at the round profile. The league profile, this is set by default, funnels down to all of your rounds. And then you do have the ability to change that on a round by round basis. So a great way to hopefully automate this process. The email configuration. We have a number of automated emails that will go out, and under the golfers tab, email configuration, if you drop that down, you're going to see 7 different round invite configurations or round configuration emails. The 2 that we're going to look at today is when a golfer is invited to a round and when a golfer signs up for a round. And you have full configuration of this. We're over here on the left. I love it that the screen is so big, so I'm like, they're not going to be able to see this, and you might not be able to see it at the back, but at least hopefully some of you can. But over here on the left-hand side, this is the email that we build out by default, where we have a data field. And if you can't see in the back, I'll just kind of name this out. This is hi first name. This is a round invitation message that you can build out in the tabular view of calendar. If you want to send out some sort of message to your ladies regarding what the format is or what they can expect for that round, you are invited to participate in round name. So if you've named your rounds in the tabular view of calendar, this would say you're invited to participate in the cha-cha-cha on, what's the 4th, on March 4th. You can accept or decline the invitation through the button below. And then we have these accept and decline links that are populated on that email. And then if a woman were to accept that link, great, she's sent to the portal, she confirms her registration, maybe sends a message to the manager, maybe signs up other guests or other members, or they can decline that invitation and then they're not populated to the roster, or they can just ignore the email altogether and they don't get placed anywhere on the roster. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see we have a bunch of data fields here that can be populated into this message. Some of these you may use, some you may never use, but you could certainly put the league name. You could put, maybe you want to put, hey, to confirm your address, city, state, and zip. This is what gets pulled from the league roster. And if it's not correct, you can respond to that and they can update that in the league roster. Some of these data fields I've used hundreds of times, some I've never even touched. The hardest part is finding the data field, in my opinion. But we do have a search bar that you can kind of search for a keyword of that data field to try and populate your email configuration. Well, how do we email those invites? I've configured the email. That's great. But how do I get them out? Again, that's under your tabular view of the calendar. And we schedule sign up, open and close dates. It's going to be a drop down. You're going to set the open and close times. And then again, we can add additional information to that particular round invite. This is the club championship. It's going to be an individual stroke play. We're going to play gross and net with a bias. Okay, we're going to play a Lone Ranger format where you kind of give the description of what that particular tournament is. We can certainly add any additional information to an individual round, or we can set one by default and it goes out to every round invite, or you can just leave it the same. And so be it. So here's how we schedule the sign up, open and close. We can set that X number of days before the round starts at a particular day and time. And then certainly we need to close the round so that we can begin to build out your draw after we know the number of ladies who have registered for that round. And here's the caveat right here. Automatically send email invitations to players with a valid email address. All emails will be sent within an hour from automatically opening signups. We're going to talk about this because it can be, well, we'll just talk about it here in just a moment. Just doesn't apply. And then we send out the invitation message. So 7 days ahead of time, we're going to send out that particular email configuration to all ladies who have an email invite. And then how we can sign up when we get that email. You can see here that has my name here. I've been invited to participate in that particular event on this particular day. I can accept or decline that, and here's my playing option. So that's one way that we can get ladies into the roster. Additionally, if I don't get my email, or I don't have to sign up via email. If we give ladies the ability to sign up on the portal, and we just give them that portal URL or the GTID, or if we invite them via email and password, they can always just come into the portal, choose their name from a drop down, and select that they are playing in that particular round. Lastly, you may have some ladies who, I don't know, are out of town, don't have access to the portal, don't have access to the email. You as a league manager can always just add players manually to your round player roster, which maybe some of you have done in the past, where here's my list of ladies who are playing. I go to my round player roster and enter those signups. So back to that email going out. You have a large roster and you don't have enough room to accept all of your ladies in a particular round. If you have a player limit set within a particular round, that email invite does not go out all the time at 10 a.m. There is a queue of when those emails go out, and that email may be delayed. However, the round sign up will open up at 10 a.m. So we have had some issues where they go to sign up and the round is already full because maybe somebody got the email beforehand, maybe somebody knew to go to the portal and sign up at that particular opening time. So I just want you to be aware, if you feel that that is going to be an issue, we may not want to automatically open round signups. We may want to send an email to the ladies saying that, hey, every Wednesday at 10 a.m., this round is going to open. Please head to the portal to sign up. That only really affects you if you have a large roster where ladies may or may not get in. And if they waited 45 minutes to get that round sign up email, they may be pushed out of that round roster because it already filled. So keep that in mind. I wish it was automatic. Unfortunately, it's not. But just be aware of that if that is a scenario that you may be faced with. Okay, moving on to tournament build out, doing pretty good here on time, so I think we do pretty good here. And again, not going to get into the program here. Most of you hopefully are familiar with the tournament UI. Under the rounds tab, we're going to build a tournament and or multiple tournaments. But we'll just kind of go through some best practices as to what I see as a good way to build out a tournament. Within your tournaments, certainly we need to create our pairings based off of the number of ladies who have confirmed their particular round request. When we need to build out tournaments, we are going to have to build scorecards, generate printed material, enter those scores, and then display results, kind of the normal flow of what you would feel in a normal round day, starting from right here beforehand, and then this certainly happens once you get on the golf course. I'll probably introduce a few TM premium features in here in this conversation as well. And I'll just note that when we get into the premium. I know a lot of clubs in Colorado. You guys are probably one of the more prevalent states that has premium, which is great. So most of you may be familiar with some of these premium features that we discussed here just a moment. Certainly we're going to need to create new pairings, and we would edit our existing pairings. The create new pairings page, we have a number of different ways to create pairings. We can automatically create pairings. We can randomly create those pairings. We can create them with an A, B, C, D method if you're playing a scramble. If we create pairings and randomly create pairings, I always kind of like to throw this out. There is a keep together and spread apart functionality. So if Aaron and I need to play with one another, great. And Brent and I can't stand one another, well, we can certainly pair myself and Aaron. That's good. I love Brent. It is Aaron who I want to play with. But if there is that functionality that it happens, you know, I can't play with this person, I can't play with that person, fine. We can certainly modify that. Keep in mind that it's for random pairings only. You can't keep together 4 A players and then generate an ABCD scramble. Doesn't happen. Custom field, we don't really see that used very often, but if you do have a custom field in your league roster and we want to pair ladies via that custom field, we can. Don't really see that used very often. Manually creating pairings, this would be where they send you a request and I need to pair these ladies up together. We can certainly do that. Pairing by entry number, that just lists them based off the roster. Don't see that very often as well. And then we do have the pair by previous results, which is a great functionality for your club championships where we want to try and put the best scores together. They can either go off first, they can go off last. And then also, if you do have divisions, maybe you have a regular, a senior and a super senior division, we can also choose those divisions to pair those ladies together so that they will play with one another throughout the course of that club championship. That existing pairings page, this is kind of squashed and right here at the bottom. But so when we get to the pairings, we've already created our pairings. And then I wish this was a little better. My apologies if it's not. But right here on this line right here, all of this information to the left, and I'll kind of just mention what this is. This is the swap a player, swap pairs, swap a pairing, move pairing groups, add a player, remove a player, or add a blind. All of these focus on the players themselves on the left-hand side. So let's say Cheryl Lang needs to be removed. Great. And we're playing a cha-cha-cha. We need another golfer in that pairing group. We can certainly add a blind and put a blind into that particular pairing group. If I need to move some players around, I can certainly swap these players with this functionality from add blinds to the left. I should look a little bit better if I put this screenshot up. My apologies. On the right-hand side, I don't really use the change T or move T very often. I always get my pairing set up over here, and then I can set my course and T. Over on the right-hand side, set my shotgun or set my T. Now, down here at the bottom, I didn't add this in, but we do have also the functionality. Let's say you have flighted your club championship, and you're going to make your first flight play from the white tees. Okay, fine. We can choose that I want the flight A to play from the white tees, that would highlight all of the ladies on the left-hand side. You can assign them to the white tees, and then you could choose flights 2, 3, and 4 to play from the red tees or the green tees, whatever tee that may be. So we've got some functionality there to automatically assign players to a different tee. Obviously, it doesn't come into play as much with ladies, because normally the forward tee is what most women play. But if we need to modify that, we could certainly move that to a further back tee. Or maybe I'm incorrect there. Maybe the super seniors play forward, and then the regular women play on the back. So that may have been an incorrect assumption. But hopefully you get the idea that we certainly can generate key assignment based on. Yes.
So let's say I'm wondering where you in this process. Let's say Sally's due is 95 and she can't be in the sun past 9:30 in the morning because she has sensitivity to being in a lot of things. So would you put her in the creative pairings or have you edit?
Depending on how you're building it, if you're building it manually, you would certainly choose her first, being that first. The question was, for those of you online, was asking if someone has a request as to when they need to play, do you create the new pairings or do you edit the pairings? And the answer is you can do both. If you're manually creating pairings, you would choose those ladies who need to play first. And that's where that message from the manager comes in with the round invites. Oh, I need to go early. I've got this appointment. I need to make sure I go early. So the manager can check some of those answers to see where they need to pair them. If you're pairing randomly and then you find that she's at the bottom of the pairing group here, you could certainly just move that player around and move her into an earlier pairing position. Yes. Tournaments. And hopefully you've all gotten comfortable with Golf Genius's terminology. I certainly did. Normally you're playing in a tournament, and then you have these formats within the tournament. Well, that's not what Golf Genius has described as the proper flow. It's an event with a round and tournaments within that round. So I just get comfortable with that terminology. You can have multiple tournaments in a round as long as they are compatible. You can have an individual stroke play. You can have a 2 better balls of 4. You can have a skins competition. You can have a deuce competition. You can run a match play within the same round, because those are all individual stroke play rounds. The one thing you can't do is you can't play a scramble and a best ball in the same round. And we have had that scenario where you have different playing levels of ladies who, well, this division is going to play a scramble because they're just learning the game and we want them to have a good time. And then we've got another division that's going to play their own ball. Well, unfortunately, that needs to be set up in 2 rounds, because even if they're in different divisions, we can't have a scramble format and a stroke play format in the same round. So just keep that in mind, that as long as they're compatible, meaning stroke play is in one round, ultimate shot, scramble, those are the other 2 that are in another round. Play a shamble, well, you're going to end up playing your own ball, so that's fine. That's where you still would make that a better ball or a best ball, because of the fact that you are certainly finishing out your hole based off of where that best drive was. I don't know if anyone uses the 9-9 or 6-6-6 tournaments. That is one where they can be used together, but that's just because they have been broken up into segments. 9-9, you play a better ball on the front, alternate shot on the back. 6-6-6, where you see scramble, alternate shot, and better ball played over 6 consecutive holes. User score tournaments, I know you use these quite often, and I guess I will just go ahead and segue right now and answer the question that will be asked. It is on our feature request list. I looked this up 37 times, and I believe we probably stopped putting it on there because we're tired of doing this, but unfortunately, putts and chip-ins are still not on the roadmap for a tournament build. I will certainly go to bat every time someone sends me one. We'll go to our dev team, we'll go to I actually went to my CEO when we had a trip, and I'm like, hey, they want it. Why don't we get it? So at least he knows it's on the radar. But anyway, user score tournaments is what we have to kind of use for the putts and chip-ins, where you have a user score tournament closest to the pin, longest drive, longest putt, shortest putt miss. anything like that, you would build out a user score tournament, and the manager enters in those scores based off of either the placard or the information that you're given based off of what comes in from the players. Handicap analysis, I don't know if you're using it or not, but that is a great tool to make sure that the handicaps are being calculated correctly. And we haven't had any issues with them being calculated incorrectly since WHS came along. But you may have a woman who's always questioning why her handicap is the way it is. We can always go to that handicap analysis, and it gives a particular breakdown of the WHS method as to how that's calculated. I'm sure Aaron has told you many times that with WHS, the rounding is done at the last step, where before it was done on a step-by-step basis. And that's where some of the confusion comes into play, where, we don't calculate the percentage of a playing handicap until that last step. And that's where some people and of course, rating minus par. You're playing a tee that is rated less than what the par is, or we're going to take some strokes off of your handicap. And that's usually where the questions come into play. Well, on a 15 index, why am I a 12 playing handicap? Probably because that course is played easier than what the normal par is. So handicap analysis is a great tool. It can be seen on the manager side, and we can certainly populate that into the portal as well for your players to see.
Question on the handicap analysis. Can you give it a certain date as to when you want to take that handicap from that player?
Well, that's not done in the handicap analysis. That's a great question, but we do have functionality. I'm going to speed this up, but that's a great question. You can manually update the indexes automatically from the golfers tab, update indexes from GHIN, or in the league profile, there is now a new setting under handicaps, under when you retrieve indexes from GHIN, post scores to GHIN. Underneath that, there is now a box as to I want to update indexes on a particular day of the week or X number of days before a round. Okay. So that's a new functionality. It may be a year old now, but instead of being like, oh, shoot, I forgot to update indexes. Well, now we have this ability to go ahead and have that automatically done. Again, under the event profile, handicaps, just below all of your GHIN settings is where those boxes are located. Yeah.
Where do we find that again? Where to update that?
You're going to go to your leagues tab, to the league profile, handicap settings, and then you'll scroll down and find it there. You guys gotta love tabs after tabs after tabs. You're like, geez, I got this tab and this tab and this tab. How many tabs do I have to punch to get to this particular spot? But that's kind of how the functionality works. All right, let's speed through this. We got about a couple minutes and then we'll open up the floor for questions. But you can see here, this is the tournament format, how we build this out. You'll get really used to this. We work from top down, left to right, is normally what I like to do. And I like to make sure that we check all the boxes. Look at all of them, okay? Yep, we're gonna give it a name. It is a stroke play format. What is the competition? What balls am I counting? Am I playing 18 holes? Am I handicapping it? Am I giving an allowance? This doesn't really apply here. What tie-breaking method? And am I going to add a purse or points? For those of you ladies who play 9 holes, a good rule of practice here is to choose 9 holes front or back. So it doesn't really matter whether you're playing the front or back 9. Maybe you set it the front 9, but that day there's maintenance going on and they're going to push you off to the back 9. If you have that set 9 holes front or back, you don't have to redo that tournament for coming and change that setting. Scorecards, not going to get into this most. If you have a great webinar, a scorecard composer webinar. So if you go to the help tab and type in scorecard composer webinar, we've got about a 30-minute tutorial on this. I could spend an hour on building a scorecard because it can be difficult. But we do have scorecards published in the community that you can pull from. We have a club championship scorecard. We have a match play scorecard. We've got a 4-person stroke play scorecard. So you can bring those from the community. We can bring them into your scorecard category. And then from there, I'm sure you're familiar with these tabs over here on the right, where we can choose the number of pairing groups that we want to pair. We can build out the format as to who we're printing them for, 1 person, 2 person, 4 people. We can add the handicap stroking to the cards, course handicap, playing handicap, we can show dots on the cards. Additional T's and info where you want to add another scoring line for what is the cha-cha-cha, because you're going to take 1 ball on the first, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, so you can put your 4, your 8, your 12 on the scoring line to see where that adds up. Fonts and colors, if you want to change the font or the size of the color of your scorecard, you can certainly do that. And at the bottom, the header and the footer is probably the most customized scorecard, where you can add in starting hole, you can add data fields for what players that they're in this, what hole they're going to start on. You can add in the starting time. We can certainly give the name of the league, also the course that's being played if you're playing on a multiple course facility, the tournament name, and certainly the tournament date. Also here, I kind of highlighted, this wasn't highlighted in this particular course details, but I was able to highlight the scoring line in red so that it's more prevalent, so that you can see what the yardages are, par strokes, and then your additional info would be down here in the bottom. Printing material, just kind of put this out there, you may need a lot of printing material. We can build check-in sheets, cart signs, alpha sheets, proximities, key sheets. We have a ton of basic reports that they're just that, they're very basic. But if you want to get a little bit more involved, we have over 1,000 community reports that can be searched for, to where, maybe we want to use this cart sign. You don't like our basic cart sign. I don't like it. So I will go into the community reports. I'll find a cart sign that I want to use, bring that into my account, and then make those edits to that cart sign. We can filter across the top. Well, 1,100 carts, 1,100 reports. That's a lot to search through. You can start to filter down by these categories to get more granular as to the report that you're looking to bring in to your account. Last but not least, enter scores. A couple different ways to enter scores. We can manually enter scores. Those of you ladies who are on the TM platform are used to that, going to the enter scores page and entering those scores. Those of you who are on the premium platform and don't use mobile score entry, I would certainly try to recommend that and push that to your membership, because it saves a lot of time on that person entering in scores. Well, I've got 100 ladies in my league. I got to enter 118 whole scores, or I could give them mobile score entry. They can do it on their own, and then you're done. And in real time, they can see those results. I get a lot of pushback. Well, I'm not very good with technology. You can download the Golf Genius app on your mobile device and enter in 6 alphabetical characters. You can use mobile score entry. So that's my PSA there. Certainly use, I certainly recommend it. And if you haven't used it, it's great. Unfortunately, I'm usually going down the leaderboard when I look at that. So I normally don't look at the leaderboard, but I can at least get my scores entered. Random scores is a great thing to utilize so that you can see if that tournament is going to score properly. Ahead of time, I've got this unique setup. I've started to use my advanced ball rules. I want to make sure that the cha-cha-cha will score properly. We can always put in random scores, view the leaderboard to see if that particular tournament has been set up correctly. Oh, why is my tournament only showing, doesn't show flights? Why is it showing positions 1 through 100? Oh, I didn't set up the tournament as player versus flight. So then you could go back and make those changes before that particular round starts. And then lastly, displaying results. We can display the results on the manager side, on the portal, and also on the TV display. The manager side, you can see here as a manager, you can see, hey, look at it, finish the first place. And it kind of shows on the manager side the results in the purse. Also on the TV, this would show the same on the portal. Also show on the TV display that we can push this information out to a TV display. We normally recommend the Amazon Fire Stick to plug into a smart TV. You download the round, or you enter in the round GGID into that Fire Stick, and then those results are displayed in real time. Those of you on premium, you put the round in progress and you would get real live results. A little hack that you could do if you're on the TM club, you could always put the round from not started to completed. And then those ladies who have at least posted an 18-hole score would be populated on the leaderboard. Those who have not would be at a DNF at the bottom, but you could certainly kind of trick the system to at least get somewhat of a scoring display on the TV with the TM club. Made it? Any questions? Thanks everybody for your attention. I really appreciate it. I think what we'll do here is everybody's okay. We'll try and maybe address some questions via on the Zoom, and then certainly I can stick around 15 minutes before the next session, and then maybe after the general session for lunch, I'll be around to answer any questions if we don't get to those.
All right, Justin, this person said we play a modified Stableford all season. How can we add the points earned from proxy from manual scoring?
So if I got that correct, we cannot add points to the Stableford total. That would have to be, we would, I don't think that's a possibility. You can certainly add points to if you win your modified Stableford and you get points for a finished position. You certainly can, but we don't have the ability to add in a user score tournament. Say you get.
Come on, guys.
Guys,
Hey,
everybody,
guys.
I'm trying, I don't want to get anybody walking over, me answering this question, thank you. I don't think we can add a user score tournament to your Stableford points. We can kind of think about a way to do that, but probably what you would want to do is you would take your Stableford points and build a user score tournament and add them to all of the proxies that came through.
Perfect, that's it.
Okay.
There's only one.
All right, well, I guess we only have one internet chat or internet question or Zoom question. Yes.
You mentioned that we can put the handicap analysis onto the portal. You have something that shows what that would look like then, or what information?
Yeah, that's great.
I'm
So
trying to figure out a way that the members each week know their range handicap or their course handicap.
perfect. So here we have the portal built, and I guess this is kind of cheating into my next session about portal setup, but that's great. You know, so I've got my portal here. Those of you on TM Club, you have one collage page that you can build for a welcome page where you can add photos, you can add text, you can add imagery to kind of dress up your portal. Where you can add in the handicap analysis, maybe you want to put it under your T-sheets. And then we would add a new page. And then here, scrolling down, it is, if I can find it. I think I passed it.
It's purple. It's purple. Plain. Oh,
Where is it?
Right there.
I just.
Yeah, there
There you go.
you go.
No.
Purple.
Playing handicap.
Like shape
That it?
in the middle.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, it's
Green.
Green. So, and then when we get in here, let's say we want to build out, let's say you build out all of your rounds. This is for my next session, but you can certainly choose and unchoose at any particular time. But if I want to choose my cha-cha-cha, I'm not sure. This is kind of interesting that the gross ringer is a handicap analysis field because there's no handicap with that. So that's kind of interesting. But if I were to choose my cha-cha-cha handicap analysis and I have all of these ladies here. Well, here's Audrey Richmond. You can see, okay, why am I 11.8 and 5 playing handicap? Great example. 66.5 is the course rating. So if Audrey comes into the portal, opens up her name, you can now see that we have given the calculation as to how we generate her handicap. Well, shouldn't that be a 6? No, we're taking 80% of your 5.882, which brings this down to the 4.7, which rounds that up to
Will
a
that
5.
automatically update each week, or do we need to reload it?
It will automatically update the handicap analysis, and it kind of depends on what you want to do. If you want to manage it, let's say you build out all your tournaments for the season. You can certainly come into your handicap analysis and check off all of the rounds that have tournaments. You know, I've got my team round for the next one. I've got my better ball of partners. I've got my individual Stableford. I could check them all if I wanted to. However, it does get a little bit busy if I save that, but to save you some time, you could certainly check them all. And then they would come into the handicap analysis. They would choose the round that they want to look at for their handicap analysis. Or do you want to monitor that as a manager and only check the round that is being played that particular day? You know, for instance, you know, this one is now in the past. So do I want to show that? Maybe yes, maybe no. So they can historically go back and see what their playing handicap was. But that's kind of a great feature on that portal to add in the handicap analysis, just so that you're not fielding those questions as to, well, why am I this particular play?
Check them all up front, then you don't have to remember to go back and check them through.
Yeah. So maybe what you do is you check them all up front, and then as the rounds pass, you go in and uncheck them, or you just leave it and be like, hey, fine, what was your playing handicap on this particular day? Got a few more minutes for any questions, if anybody has anything. Okay, well, I'm gonna take my 4 minutes. I'm not letting you out, I'm not letting you off that easy. All right, I get 2 minutes, he gets 2 minutes. Just one, this you can see here on the portal. If you're not using the portal, please start to do so, because we can put in the pairing sheet for when your ladies are playing. We can add in tournament results from each one of the rounds. We can actually even have a player event standing so that we can certainly start to determine who is the leader with first and or points. So if you're not using the portal, certainly recommend that we start to try and maybe utilize that in the future. But that's all I have. I'm going to give it to Aaron and let him wrap up. Yep.
How much does the premium cost?
Premium is $3,500 plus a $500 setup fee annually.
Not like.
If you have a league that plays like 7 days, would this accommodate that kind of a tournament?
So they can play on any day.
They can play Monday through Saturday.
So you normally you just make that last round date, the one round date. You don't have to enter in. Because if you're storing them together, you want it to be set up on. Okay, I'm gonna leave that for me. Questions, I'll be available after the session, but I'm gonna pass them on to Aaron to wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, for that. Thank you, everybody online for your participation. So the next session, for those of you in person and online, start at 10:15, so you have about a 15-minute break. Additionally, if you guys want more information, we are having 2-hour 3 sessions in Golf Genius, labeled Golf Genius 101, 102, 103. We're all virtual, led by Justin here in the month of March. At the CGA, we call March our learning month. That's when we do all of our teaching. And if you want to join, I actually have a QR code up here on the podium that you can just scan and join right now if you want to. Totally free, anybody can sign up. If they are yearning for some Golf Genius knowledge, come on by. And if you want to know more about the course handicaps, playing handicaps and all that fun stuff, that'll be taught by me, and I'm doing 4 of those sessions as well. Again, ladies, thank you for joining virtually. Go have some coffee, refreshments, and we'll see you in the next session. Thanks, guys.
Still recording.
What's our next session? It's the kind of next step on the